1 in C minor, just the first movement.
be great. Yeah, you definitely have it memorized, don't you? Ever since you hadn't had it while you were playing. So C minor and Beethoven, and it's clear that you feel all the passion in this piece. Can I ask you what your age is?
20.
You're 20? Okay. And so you're in college,
Yes.
studying? Okay, terrific. It's very mature playing. It's clear that he's done a lot of study of what's on the text, right? What Beethoven actually wrote. And also that you take to heart what we read about Beethoven. What have you read about his performances?
Lots of stuff about Beethoven. What do you mean about his performances?
Any accounts of what he did when he performed?
Oh, he improvised like crazy.
Yes, he was a great improviser, and we hear elements of that in the pieces, right? Ever read about how he would play and start breaking strings and things would go flying out of the piano because he was just so passionate and so I really appreciate that about your playing. I appreciate your commitment to the text, and I actually think, I'm surprised to hear myself saying this, but I think that sometimes we need to rein it in just a little bit, so that you stay within the bounds of good tone. And I don't mean to take away from your fortissimos, but there were a couple of times where I think maybe you could back off a little bit and still have as much passion without going over the bounds of good sound for the instrument. And I also think there's some places where I want to fuss a little bit with the pedaling.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's a very finished product, and congratulations for that. Yeah, it's very, very good. Okay, and then I want to ask you just about the decision to divide your hands on this gesture. I bet you knew that was going to come up.
Yeah, I went back and forth a lot, and I've just found that I've been able to play it a lot more accurately, more percent of the time, doing it that way.
Okay, can you do it both ways for the audience so they know what I'm talking about?
I haven't practiced it for a while the other way. I just kind of
Way
abandoned
slow.
it.
Ba-da-da-da. As opposed to... Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you know how to do it because you're good at it.
Well, it's a little different, but
It's
yeah.
within an octave, but
yeah.
And so usually they say, if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it, or something. There's some American expression like that. But however, I think when you divide it, it sounds to me like you then also need to pedal it. And he doesn't say anything about having a left-hand sound extend there.
I might say something about that.
So that's one argument for doing it in the right hand as he wrote it. Unless, can you make this sound as if you're hang on to one hand until the other one plays? Let's see. Okay, can you make it sound more like one hand? I still kind of hear both. You don't really connect. Yeah, okay.
Work on it.
Yeah. Work on the other way too. Okay, the one-hand version, because it'll come in handy. If you learn how to do that, it'll come in handy in other places, in other pieces. This kind of arpeggio, you're going to find that in Mozart concertos. The texture of walking up a chord like that is really common in classical music. So if you master it here, that's another argument for doing it, in the right hand. But okay, so you have this forte statement, and then I love your answers. They're just like little choirs singing. So hats off for that. That's great. Then we have a little bit of song. First attempt, second attempt, successful attempt, which happens also a lot in classical music, right? You have the 1, 2, 3 effect. I'd like a little more difference between your 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah. Can you try that, please? Good. Try it one more time. That made even more sense. Yeah, just a little upping the intensity. And then rinforzando, make sure you've still got singing tone. It doesn't suddenly say, bang. It's related. It needs to have some relation to that. It's doubled. So you already have that intensification. Watch your tone quality. Okay? Play just that G. No, wait. Think in context. Just this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do that. Well, first one's soft. Okay, next one. Now double. See, that's too different. That's like you're suddenly in Prokofiev. Can you make it still Beethoven? Try it again. That's better. Yes. And that brings me to a point that I also wanted to make in watching you play. That I think you need to keep looking for ways to be relaxed at the instrument.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know how much progress I've made.
I bet. I mean, I don't know because this is the first time I've met you. But so that's great. We have to keep reminding ourselves that we're playing this instrument that, unlike a violin where you keep involved in your sound, or like a voice where the column of air keeps going by your larynx, or a clarinet where you have to blow through your horn. After this, doesn't matter what we do, we're done, right? After we initiate the tone, there is nothing else that our body needs to do. And so oddly enough, we have to train ourselves not to press, right? You gotta get into this mode where you really plan the beginnings of whatever sound you're producing, and then you just learn to relax in the key. Okay? So try those G's again, and say first one, and then second one, and even on this octave, the minute the sound hits your ears, I'd like to see if you can just turn into jello here. Okay? So I'm gonna hang out over here. First one. Good. Octave. Yeah, pretty fast. Do it again. Do the octave again. Okay. Yeah, you can do that to yourself. Just say, am I loose? And in any of your technical exercises that you do, work sometimes with long notes so that you can train that automatic response. You've played it, you're in the key, relax. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's surprising to me that sometimes when you start thinking that way, when you tell yourself, okay, relax, then your next sound is great. Because it comes from the standpoint of loose muscles. It's not, you're not tight and your next one's kind of, okay? So get that relaxation. So let's kick it in here. And now listen to your G's, and then also make sure you're nice and loose. Both hands. That was terrific. And you also have a really good knack for having dramatic timing. You make us wait for something. And that's the greatest part.
Every time.
Yeah. And even, I think you give them a little extra, which is the real sign of artistry, because, like I said, it makes us wait. Yeah. Now, how about, let's be true to the fact that he doesn't have a left hand. There, okay?
Okay, so you don't want to hold the pedal.
No, not all the way through. Okay. Yeah. So do the last. Great. Okay. I want to work on these. This way instead of okay. Feel that difference. Okay. Try. Just double bump. Yeah, you can be longer, but just be loose. Good. That's real different than the sound quality that was before, and it's still big, but it's not as harsh. Okay. All right. Now your beautiful second beat. I'd like you to just practice the first violin part. Think of this as a string quartet, right? Do you?
I haven't thought of this one as one, but
Okay, see how there's 4 voices?
yeah.
Cellos. Okay, so practice your first violinist part and pretend you're Itzhak Perlman or some famous one, Midori, who's coming to town in a couple weeks. So think of how would someone make one line out of this. So you're not distracted by the chords that are happening underneath, like only the first violin part. Beautiful. You see how you hung on to your long notes, and then now the trick is to do that when you have other things to do with the rest of that hand. Can you go so slowly that you can concentrate on E flat connecting to F, even though you played that chord? So slowly. Now listen to E flat. Okay. Yes, here, not so good there. Because I didn't hear D flat connecting to B.
See, okay, I see the slur here, but I guess I kind of let a little bit of space because it kind of seems like these are connected and maybe a little bit of space, but I guess it's a whole slur thing. So.
Right. I'm sure he means that slur, and I'm sure he means the beauty that we heard when you played that part alone is what he intends. He does not want us to hear. It's so much prettier when it's connected. So that just puts a special, a special task there for you to practice. Okay. All right. So separate out lower strings. Violin 2, viola, and cello, and practice those sometimes. So you have a beautiful choir going on underneath, and then practice only violin 1, and then do some in between work by just doing the 2 violins. Okay. Okay. So don't be intimidated by that. It'll be worth it. The work will be worth it. Okay, and then let's start from here. Do you hear the architecture when he plays? It gets more and more exciting. He really has a good plan for that, and I so appreciate that. Also, the care with which you do staccatos, you're looking at your sforzandos. One thing that I think, I kind of agree with this editor, this is completely editorial, but if you do the same pedaling here as you do here, the result is vastly different, okay? Pedal your measures there, just for your left hand, and see what you hear. Well, that's not bad.
Did I pedal?
Yeah.
Did I pedal there?
Yeah, by the measure, yeah. Okay, so it's pretty quiet. Okay, so make it quiet and pedal by the measure. And can you play for the bottom voice only? Starts getting all mushy, because of heavy pedaling, then back off a little bit, okay, so that we can definitely hear. And it's kind of a beautiful counterpoint to that, okay? And one of the real important practice methods you would want to do here, is just isolate those two and explore the counterpoint. Okay? Because he's gone a step beyond just having melody, accompaniment. He also has counterpoint. So it's like off there, right? Okay. So, and that's what brings the pedal into the discussion, because if you do really long pedals, you're losing that one little element of the texture there. And when it moves to the bass, like it does here, now play this stuff and do one measure pedaling, only left hand. So what are you hearing?
It's too muddy because
Yeah. What?
because there's multiple notes that are like right next to each other, not on the same chord anymore.
Right. Here, there was some stepwise motion too. But
Okay.
it's a huge difference when it's on the, stand up for a second. Okay, check out this. Here's your G string. Look at how long it is. It goes to the end of that bridge. It's like six feet long, okay? And yeah, that's good. Good point. Okay, but on this, let's see, where's the other one? You were in this range. Okay, so look at this. Okay, so that's that point in the bridge. So you've got this length string compared to this length string. And of course they're resonating and they're, it's just too much mixing, right? So have a seat and train your foot to go each one of these bass notes. So left hand plus pedal. Do it again, and listen really carefully. Do you hear it? Too mixed still. Bob your foot down. Yes. Yeah. And once again, it's one of those skills that, I have to move my foot. But if you get this, you are going to be a fancy peddler and be able to have, that up your sleeve, that new skill. So use these things, every one of them, to get better at something. Okay, good. So then, let's see. Can we hear it from here where there's this back and forth conversation? This is the success one. Can you do something to enjoy that be triumphant? Okay, these are just failed attempts, and then you get success. Okay, that's good. Let's practice this. What I want. Watch. Use a little rotation for that high G. You do what?
I'm nervous I'm going to chip the note when I try to, because that's going to be my pinky.
Yeah. That's what, I mean, sometimes for pinky notes, this is such a weak finger that has to be the strongest sometimes. You want to have a little more than just the finger, and so you get the arm involved. Okay, so let's see if you can play it with a whole karate chop kind of with the side of your hand, and we won't matter if you yeah. So it's a timing thing. You have to say left, right. Use the flip. Do this up here. Even more. So yeah. Try that again. I have my students play up here all the time because it's you got to get away from the pitches sometimes and from your fear of hearing wrong notes, okay? So I think it's actually, especially for you, because your shoulders tend to be a little tight, that I do a lot of air practice, air piano, okay? That's one of the great ways to sort of loosen up the bigger muscles that you have available. So now that you've done it in the air, do once more in the air. Yeah. Okay, now do it on the keyboard. Again. Yep, and say, okay, so I went a little too high. Don't say, oh, bad note, wrong note, no. Don't have that hang up, okay? Just kind of a little closer to my hand. Try to. Good. Excellent. So the 4 in a row.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the most important thing, so don't rush it. Da-dee-da-da, enjoy it. Once again. Yeah. Do you feel the triumph of being up there? Okay, good. And it's E flat major. What can be more triumphant, you know? Okay, let's go from it to the end. Wait, before you do that, here's one case in which I thought, all right, we need to just rein it in a little bit. Yeah, it's not a fortissimo piano; it's a forte piano. Now do it very, very easy. Sing it. Pretty good. Do one more time. Just like it? Did you like it? Yeah? Okay, now keep your ears really open, and I want to hear what you like and what you don't like next time you do it. Yeah? So really listen to what you're doing. Both hands on point. Okay, good. Can you not exaggerate that too much?
Okay.
You know, just it's a beautiful swell. It's still within the same sentence. Okay. Now I wonder if you can have the right hand plus your pedal have the same beautiful effect. So no left hand yet, but now do the octaves with just your right hand. That's very nice. Yeah. So sometimes we can be our own best models if we just take some element of the difficulty away. Okay, and show ourselves, like you could play this just, one line and see, okay, what does Beethoven really want with this melody? How do I want to shape that melody? And then can you do a shortcut version of this and just chord? And just play a blocked harmonization to your beautiful melody. Oh, do you want to do just the chords first? I'm hoping to sort of ease your mind about being able to do this. Okay, so now do both hands. Good. Did you discover anything? Probably not when there's 30 people listening.
What should I discover? Tell me what I should be discovering.
Well, I mean, did you hear anything that you might not hear when you're busy doing the left hand eighth notes and thinking about octaves and balance and stuff like that?
Well, just more clear that the melody, you can just hear it more.
Yeah.
What's going on.
Yeah. Why don't you think for a second about does my melody match my chord? Okay, as you play it through again and just ask yourself, does the melody note that I'm playing right now match my chord? Okay, so does this one? Actually, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait, this is up on the C is part of it, right? Okay, so these are kind of very expressive notes that go all part of the chord. Still part of the chord, right? Yeah, everybody's, yeah, go on. No, we're not done. Yeah, so it's a fourth suspended, because then you get to, you know, we're waiting for that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we have, doing that kind of shows you, wow, these are my moments to be expressive. And what makes them expressive is that there's that little conflict. They're not really at peace with their chord, okay? So now play it again, and just heighten your awareness of that as you play through.
The same way?
No, let's do it as written.
Okay.
Stuff. So it's kind of fun to have that to think about. Okay. All right. Good. Now let's go from here. Okay. Good. Now I want Luke. I want to try something where you're sitting here and we're taking yoga or something like that.
No.
Do you do any sports?
I run cross-country.
You run! Wow! Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, sort of plant yourself here. Think about your spine, okay? Real nice and straight. And do this. Do this with me. Okay, you got the whole keyboard at your disposal, right? And don't move yourself don't move your torso as you play. Whatever the notes are from here, okay? So just stay right here. Relax. From this joint on, you can move. Okay, so be very relaxed. Okay, try it again. Real expressive. Okay, all right. And now, did that feel any different? Less controlled or odd?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'm just not used to it.
Okay. Do you know what you do when you play that usually?
Not 100% sure. I think I can move around.
Try it again and see what your norm is. There's just a little extra tension around here that you don't need, and I think it could be detrimental. I mean, it could be detrimental over a long practice session because you'll get all tight, and it could be detrimental to the sound that you're producing. Because when muscles are tight, it's harder to sink into the keys with lovely tone. Okay? So try, I hear a little difference. I can tell that you're more comfortable in your old version. And when you sat back, it was just a little bit flatter affect. I mean, it was hard for you to get into it. But it's still a trainable thing, and I think it'd be worth your exploring to have good posture when you're playing, and to be sure you're not tensing up your torso, or of course I'm one to talk. Probably hunch back of Notre Dame when I'm playing, but do as I say, not as I do. And try to keep your posture nice and straight. Now I want to just be sure to get to these because I'm hearing two note slurs when you play that. This is the preparation for the recap, and I'm hearing but there's nothing in the score that's like that. And this is a really cool effect if you keep them. So don't connect them. Okay. Bye. It's tense. All right. So that's what you have there. Good. Very good. How are we doing on time? We should probably move to the next person. Do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. Thank you so much for playing. You were terrific.